We're going to keep the show going today. Today, we just want to give another shout out to the Lincoln Park Room. There's amazing facilities here. Amazing space here, so if you're interested in collaborating with them, doing screenings, pop-up events, anything of that nature, definitely check them out. So I'm here just to introduce this next panel coming up, sponsored by Lab 88. And it's all about creating content and filmmaking in Chicago. So we're going to bring up the host of this panel, coming up to the stage, Brother Edwin Walker, coming up to the stage, Micheaux.
I'm gonna invite everybody up too. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. I appreciate y'all for being here at the XL Festival. These amazing panelists. Probably take it, pass down the mic. Yep. This conversation is pretty much gonna be, I like to call them secret meetings. Avenue started a few years ago. I saw a need of giving creators access to resources because I think sometimes we don't know what to do, where to go. So independent filmmaking, just before we start this conversation, a lot of people get confused about what independent filmmaking is. I'm proud to be an independent filmmaker. I use the moniker Micheaux in homage to Oscar Micheaux, who was pretty much the godfather of Black filmmaking. He was a Spike Lee before Spike Lee. So a lot of work that I've done really humanizes the Black story and the Black experience. And I got introduced to independent filmmaking living in LA and being inspired by the Robert Townses of the world, the Ava DuVernays of the world, because they didn't rely on a studio to tell them how to tell their story. So this amazing panel, this conversation that we're getting ready to have, these are all people who took matters into their own hands. So that's a quick intro. And I want everybody on the panel to introduce themselves. I feel like a quick 1-minute intro and let people know who you are.
Hello everybody, my name is Anthony L. Williams. I am an award-winning filmmaker, showrunner, director, producer in Chicago. I'm also the CEO of Second Glance Productions. And we focus on really finding the heart in stories and delivering that to the world. So no matter what medium we produce content in, whether it's feature films, short films, commercials, educational videos, it doesn't matter, stories first. And so our mission is to edutain and inspire viewers at first glance while provoking deeper thought, conversation, and connection upon second glance.
Wow, that's a tough act to follow. I'm Annette Galloway, and I'm an independent filmmaker. A specialty is directing, producing, writing. So, been doing this for a long time. Started out as an actress. Now I have my production company, and we filmed Just a Friend, the feature film that's a romantic comedy you can check out on Apple TV, Tubi, YouTube, Prime. And we have a upcoming film, and we'll talk about that more. But so that's what I do, and I've just been doing it for quite some time. And it's from the concept of bringing voices to people that look like me. So we don't have a lot of women in this industry that's behind the scenes. So that's why I took that step. And I look forward to talking more with you.
That's awesome. My name is Derek Dow. I'm a tourist. I'm looking for a wife. And, I was the wrong show? Oh, my bad. Sorry. My bad. Still looking. I'm a director, award-winning as well. I'm a professor at Chicago State University where I teach film. Director, SAG actor, and my company is Just a Boy from Illinois. Because I'm just a boy from Illinois, excited to be here. I tend to focus on, just like our stories. One of my most successful films called The Big Chop, which was about self-acceptance and accepting your hair, stuff like that. And, I did a movie that was based around Juneteenth called Shotgun Wedding and stuff like that. So I just like a lot of the little sub-stories that people don't, if you're not in the culture, you might miss. So I like stuff like that, yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in giving people their flowers. So this is gonna be like really kitchen table talk. We're gonna be real. And I remember to give Derek his flowers. If you saw the first episode on the Live 88 podcast, I moved to LA at 18, no money, just from the South Side, just really like, I want to do this, I can do this. And I started pretty much going to USC. Derek went to USC, and I did a thesis project with his cohort, which his cohort, I'm just gonna shout them out and give them their flowers. Stephen Capel Jr., who directed Creed 2 and Transformers, Timothy Banks, who's directing a bunch of dope stuff, Ashley Cherio, Joel Taylor, they cloned Tyrone and Derek and Joel Taylor. I remember seeing these dope black people, and I'm like in the class, and I'm there as an actor, but I'm a filmmaker, and I'm like, man, I want to know who they are. And I remember Derek was the first person that I saw. I used to do the Facebook videos where you would be like doing stuff in your backyard in LA, Jefferson Park. So you was a content creator before content creation was a thing. But I remember knowing that it was possible because I saw these young black people who they gave me hope. And I couldn't afford USC, but seeing them in there, I'm sure, but y'all gave me hope, and ever since seeing you in the big child, I just want to thank you, and even that cohort for like being an example, and other filmmakers have said it as well, especially that LA crew with I'm from the Black and Sexy class, the web series, like, we was out there, the Issa Raes, the James Blands, Pooja, like, we was just getting cameras and telling stories. So that's a segue into the first conversation that I want us to have, or the first topic, is what was the aha moment when you knew, like, I want to be a storyteller, I want to be a filmmaker, and we'll start this way and go down.
I remember I was 10 years old, and well, first I started as a child actor, and so I knew that I wanted to be a child actor when I was 5, when I saw Home Alone. And I was like, this kid is tearing it up. It looked like fun, I could do it. But the moment that I knew that I wanted to be a filmmaker was the moment I was sitting in the theater and for the first time ever watching the movie Titanic. And it was just such an epic movie to sit there and take in for a 10-year-old. You know, it had action, it had romance, it had comedy, it had some of everything, and if you take away the pop culture lens in which, you know, a lot of people view it, to me, it's one of the cinematic masterpieces. And I feel like, you know, from just the development of it to the way that it was shot and how it was received in the world, I was like, that is something that I know I could do. And I feel like that movie was the moment that something in me was awakened. And I was just like, I can tell movies on grand scales like this. And that still is my goal to this day, to get to something of that magnitude. So I think it was probably that moment.
Okay, for me, it was really no definitive moment that I decided to become a filmmaker. I was an actress, and we were doing a stage play, and I remember backstage, you know, I was one of the only black actresses. And we were just like, man, it's so hard for us to get work. And one of the young ladies said, well, why don't you create your own? And I looked at the only other black actor there, and we were like, okay, we will. And so from that moment, we started creating, but I started creating to create work for myself as an actress. But as time went on, I really found that I enjoyed being behind the scenes. And I enjoyed not having to answer to anybody for my creativity. If there was a story I wanted to tell, I could tell that story. And it just became more and more. So as I realized more that I liked directing, I found out a memory that I forgot. My mother said, when you were a kid, you had all the kids in the neighborhood, and you were always putting on shows. And so I looked at old pictures, and I'm like, I forgot that. So it was kind of like this calling that I forgot I had. And so it came back full circle, where, you know, the acting opened the door, but the directing is what I should always been doing, because I'm very intuitive and instinctive, and I'm, you know, just watch things. I'm an introvert, so I sit back and I watch, and from that, I learned a lot about character development, because I watch how people move, and so when I write, I really can speak to that, to the truth of people. So that's kind of how my journey began with the behind-the-scenes filmmaking.
I think for mine was like I felt like back then was special, and now it was like it became our story, and it was escapism. You know, at that time, you know, 63rd and Wood, when it was a Rothschild and not a library, and my mother was like, you can't go outside, so it was just like, But it was weird. She's like, you can't go outside, but you can't watch TV on weekdays. But I'm like, well, you at work, I'm about to turn this TV on. You know, and just watching that, and then even bonding like with my grandfather over it. I still remember seeing my grandfather in like Arkansas, and him taking me to see Meteor Man. That's when gas was like 67 cents a gallon in Arkansas. I'm dating myself, but and I still remember that, and like, every time I bonded with somebody, it was like over a film, right? And then my granddad would, it was kind of bootlegging, because he would send me the VHS tapes. And I remember just like falling in love with like Forrest Gump and stuff like that. And just us as people, we just like so colorful. And like, and again, my people from rural Arkansas, this little town called Wilma. So like, again, like Juneteenth was my family reunion. I know a lot of people just get it in the last 4 or 5 years. We would celebrate and just sitting with my elders and like hearing stories. And I'm like, I want to tell stories. And you know, and we just natural storytellers. And I was just like, oh, you can make money off of this? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not. But even so it kind of made, can we? It kind of made me want to do it so much to the point when I got to Chicago State, because I'm a professor there now, but my undergrad was there. And I remember not really knowing what I was gonna do, but it was kind of on stage, and I had a single mom who was like, you either gonna get out or you gonna go to school, what you gonna do? And I was like, I'm gonna go to school, I guess.
Same.
And in the course of that, stumbling upon a speech class that was like film production, and like, oh, I kind of like doing this camera stuff, you know, but I didn't want to do the news thing, because that's what it was doing at the time. And Dr. Christina Lynch, she was just like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, can I just make movies instead? And she was like, all right, just turn me in movies instead of news reports. And then I've just been doing that kind of ever since, yeah.
Funny story, when he was in undergrad, he had a hustle going, and he was renting me mics back in the day. And I was shooting my first independent film, didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I go over his house first, get the mic, and it's like hand him a couple of 20s or whatever. So
I was checking them out from school. I was like, all right, cool, how many you need? All right.
But that's a good segue. I really was getting ready to go into how, let's go back to that first time. I call it your training wheels filmmaking, because I date myself. I'm 36, so I remember in me going out to LA, we had DSLRs, and I remember seeing Robert Townsend talk, and I forget who else, Spike Lee. I remember Spike is just like that uncle who gonna come to the barbecue drunk. You know, he was like, y'all too damn spoiled. We have to cut upfield, we have to do this. It made me sit with myself. And even Robert Townsend and Keenan Ivory Wayans, when they said that they had to put a lot of their projects on their credit cards, I remember we had the DSLRs and finding different people that's like, oh, you got a camera? Can I shoot a short film? Like what? And I made my first short film at 18. And I think that experience, it used to be, I think these kids these days don't understand that it was peer-to-peer network. You had to find somebody who had, hey, can I use your mama's house? Like to this day, I remember seeing Issa Rae. She was going around, hey, can I use your lobby in apartment? The James Milans, like all of these people when we were just getting cameras and shooting. And I remember that was the moment that I knew I wanted to be independent, because as black people too, and being a black filmmaker is community when you can create with family. And I tell people, I don't like to have no Pookie in the production. I don't like to be ratchet on my set. I just wanted to feel like family, but not too family, where it's like we get a lot out of hand, but I love the idea of coming together and tapping in resources. So now I want to switch gears to what would you tell like that yourself when you made your first project, like what you know now, and what was that experience like when you set out to make it, tell this story? What advice would you give yourself, this version of yourself, to that version?
My advice, and something that I actually live to this day, is never be afraid to ask and let people tell you no. Never assume that people will tell you no. And I learned that on my second short film. My first one, I was very much like getting my feet wet, got everybody together, who has a camera, who got lights, who got location. My second one was very much intentional. And so it was, it dealt with public health, and so I knew that I had to do it right. And so I was just very nervous, number one, because I lived in the South at that time. And with the subject matter of HIV and sex and all that, all these doors were getting closed in my face. And so it got me to a point where I was almost done asking, but something said, no, keep pushing. That's another thing, another piece of advice is keep pushing, never look back, keep your eyes forward, and you will get where you want to go. And so I've learned that, and I keep telling myself that today. So number one, keep asking, and I did. And once we got the yeses, it was like everything from that point on was not necessarily seamless, but it fell into place. And so, people started giving locations. I had locations to shoot at. I had locations for auditions. I had actors I had never met coming out of the woodworks. It just, like, everything worked. But the point being is that I would tell myself, keep going, and then keep asking, because you will get, and that film was called Absolutely Positive. It was my second short film that I'd ever done, and with it dealing with public health, it actually made its way to the CDC, and somebody at the CDC ended up seeing it, and then they passed it along to colleagues at the White House. And so in 2013, I got invited to the White House based on this, 27-minute short film that I never intended would even go anywhere because I was almost too afraid to ask.
I better ask out there. Don't be afraid to ask.
Well, for me, I would tell my younger self to be confident in my skill set, that I have everything I need, and so just that confidence in knowing that there is no right or wrong way to do this. The key is just to do it. So, had I did that, I probably would have started directing sooner, because a lot of it was just the fear of like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't have anybody to look up to. I'm from Ohio, who does this? And so, just being confident, and also, I would have went to school sooner for it. So, I went to film school later. Now I have my MFA in film, but I would have done that sooner. I would have recommended that to myself, because that actually helps to boost the confidence in knowing that, it just confirmed, though, for me, that I was doing it right. So I was on track the whole time, but I didn't have that person say, am I doing this right? I'm on set, am I doing this right? So looking back at it now, it's like, okay, yeah. So school and just the confidence to do it without worry.
And before you hop in there, I just want you to also add on, you said something profound to me before about you make romantic comedy films. And I feel like, and I'll tell this, I also act, and I'm some of the best directors that I have ever worked with have been women, especially black women. One of my favorites is Tasha Smith. When I tell you Tasha Smith is a beast, and every time when I feel like I'm acting or even collaborating with a black woman, I feel like I'm at home. So I would love you to touch on why you wanted to make rom-coms and what made you want to say why we need the need of them. And I hope you can inspire the audience of like, don't be afraid of being disappointed in what you see and say, it's time to switch the game up. So touch on that real quick.
Yeah, everybody's running towards horror and drama. Rom-coms are, I like emotional honesty. Yeah. So it's like, okay, those questions of what if we were, brave enough to be honest with our emotions and really go for what we want. So a lot of it, for me, developed from just those what ifs and telling a story of, love and adding a little comedy to it, but while you're watching it, you can say, oh, that sounds like my story. I think I talked to somebody in here earlier tonight, and they were saying, oh, that sounds real. It's like, yeah, my stories, I really try to dive into the realness, because I observe people, I'll talk to friends and say, and we're all about relationships. So it's just a broad spectrum, and everybody can relate to it. So when I would watch, similar to Derek, movies as a young girl, when Harry met Sally, and I'll be like, well, we should be able to tell stories like that.
Why Harry can't be Harrietta? It can't be Sally like that. I said the same thing.
Right, and so that, so I took it and put the urban twist on it, and just now we have Just a Friend, So, you can watch movies that's similar, but they look like you and me. But everybody can enjoy the movie. It's not, I'm not just trying to keep it in a box, but I want us to have something, and so I love romantic comedies. It's just who I am. I have I have a heart for love. That's pretty much, what I can say to that. So yeah, thanks for asking.
Not a content curator before content curation was a thing.
You know what? I think I would tell myself, you know that phrase, everybody like, I just try to stay out the way, right? Don't get in the way, trip them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I felt like, especially at that time, coming into it, it was one, not a lot of us doing it, because we talking about like 02, 03, and it was just like, I don't want to go around, I don't want to think I'm cocky, and not knowing, like in hindsight, like they don't even know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, get in the way. Sometimes I was too humble, I feel, like that thing very like almost mousy, you know what I'm saying? And I've always been big energy. So I would just tell myself, and anybody out there who feel that way, it's just like, be that big energy. If it makes them feel uncomfortable, let them be uncomfortable. Listen, because I've been unhappy small, and I've been unhappy big, but I'd rather be big. You know what I'm saying?
That's real. And I'm gonna give y'all time for this one. We're gonna close on what are 3 words that describes being an independent filmmaker or being an independent storyteller. So I'll let y'all think as y'all thinking of that. I just want to say I think independent filmmaking right now is back on the rise, because I think when we look at the Netflix of the world, all of these conglomerates, they own streamers. But I think audiences are fed up and they want truth. And I'll tell you this story. In 2020, I went to Sundance Film Festival and ended up getting COVID at Sundance Film Festival.
So you were a super spreader.
I was a super spreader. They call it a Petri dish. I was in a Petri dish. Look at Black House, Macro, we all shoulder to shoulder. And I'm like, we in Sundance, hey. A week later. But I remember being there and I was chasing Hollywood, living in LA, and I had a meeting with Kerry Washington's production company. I remember I was like, man, I want this so bad, just get in with Honest Collective. And I met this lady. And a friend introduced me. We was in a writing cohort together. And he was like, man, you black as fuck. I said, I know. I said, he said, but she need to know you, because you black as hell. You won't be scared. You like in Hollywood, you be giving it to him. And when I came out there, I had an afro out and real, Wild Wild 100, Chi-Town, rapping. And I ended up meeting this lady. She goes by the name of Dr. Karen Baptiste. And she was like, no, my brother has been caught up in the school to prison pipeline. And I did Melanie DeAndrea project at USC when I met Derek that was about the school to prison pipeline. That was almost 10 years before. And I was like, listen lady, it's cool and all. I'm trying to talk to Kerry Washington. I'm trying to get this. And I flew back to LA, kept thinking about her. And we ended up making a project. I had to be obedient. I've heard God say, man, you better stick by her side. She got a story to tell. And you're a truth. You're a disruptor. You're going to give people truth. And here we are, 5 years later. Last week, we just got nominated for a New York Emmy. And it's the idea of peer-to-peer networking. And I had to be obedient to that. And as much as, it's funny because, look, I'm still trying to holler at Kerry Washington, like I'm trying to still get that deal. But working with Dr. K, that's why I'm an independent filmmaker, and that's why when we've traveled the world and when I've done work with different brands and done work with museums as Micheaux and still working on cultivating more projects and Oscar Micheaux's legacy, it's about literally saying, I can come here and disrupt and I can give people truth. And I know they're gonna want this truth because people just want authenticity. So to me, when I think about the Tarantinos, the Spike Lees, the Duvernays, the Kuglers, starting out with Fruitvale and Cable, and just, it's people that they didn't have fear. You show up and you bold. So if you're out there, if you're an independent filmmaker, it's hard as hell. There's days when you want to quit, you want to give up. I know I've been there, but I know that I'm bold. I know that I'm a truth teller, and I know I'm gonna build other young Micheaux to come after me and be proud to say I'm a black filmmaker and continue a legacy. So independent filmmaking, in my opinion, it's where it's at, man. So I would love to hear y'all take on just 3 words and what quantifies the work that you do as an independent filmmaker.
Before I just dive into the 3 words, I want to piggyback off of what you said earlier and what you said just now, obedience. I feel like that has been my entire journey. And I feel like it takes boldness to be obedient, and it takes a lot of faith to be obedient. And also, you have to really listen to your inner voice, because that inner voice knows, and it knows the direction to take you. And so the more, in my opinion, and in my journey, the more that I fought against that is when I had the most hell and the most hardship and the most everything. And even when an opportunity looked like it was the opportunity and something told me to go a different direction, just like what you're talking about, is when the door opened. And so I have always learned to follow that intuition and follow obey where it's telling me to go, because it has never failed me. So I always encourage people to do the same thing. With my 3 words, I would have to say bold, because that's all, and that's a huge part of what independent filmmaking is. There are going to be a lot of times where, I felt like I've been by myself, or I felt like I had no support, or I felt like there are a lot of feelings, a lot of feelings in this, but you have to keep going. You have to keep going. The second thing I would have to say, the second word is vision. If you have a vision that is so deep inside of you that if you stop today, it's going to nag you for the rest of your life, you know you're doing what you're supposed to do, and keep going. And know this too, that nobody has the exact same vision that you do. You're very unique with how you have it. It might be the same type of story, but the way that you're telling it is absolutely unique to you and different. And so I'd be bold in that. And the third thing I would have to personally say independent filmmaking is for me is fulfilling. I feel like if I stopped doing this today, there's nothing else that I could see myself doing. Like I said, I started out as an actor. I don't even see myself doing that anymore. If I couldn't sit down and write and tell a story, or if I couldn't sit down and create a world, or if I couldn't serve as a director to put it together, or be a producer to make it happen, I don't know what I would do. Like, I'd be sitting in my house going crazy. And so, I think those are the 3 words I really stick behind as far as being an independent filmmaker.
So,
My 3 would be challenging, yet rewarding, and it's a roller coaster. So like you said, the challenges are there, but you have to have the passion for it, and you're gonna be rewarded because you love what you do. And then the roller coaster is just taking you on a ride because you don't know which way you're gonna go and where you're gonna end up, but it's gonna be something good, so it's a joyride.
I'm going to start off just straight out collaboration, because film is the first thing that taught me how to play properly with people. You understand what I'm saying? And even as I look around this room and I'm looking at Mamadou and I'm like, yo, I met Mamadou because he came and worked on my set, and we've been cool since sometimes in the old something. And I'm looking at Chan, and I'm looking at, and I'm looking at a couple other faces around here, even my new cousin that I just met 4 months ago. It started off with collaboration because it's not something we can do by ourselves, right? You need an army to do this thing, right? So I think about that, right? And then I think about family, right? Because a lot of people in this system, I'm just not saying, I'm not the guy like, everybody you work with, you're going to be in love with. But the people say, look, I met you 3 months maybe, on a panel. Mm-hmm. We talk once a week. Yeah. I'm coming to your screening tomorrow. Yeah. I didn't even like Troy, he's too tall. I don't trust Troy talking. But we cool.
Troy Debo, look at this Debo.
Look, you talking about 5'10", I don't trust you. But Troy, because of the film world, it keeps us in each other's orbit. Troy sent me random texts and stuff I just be sleeping. I'm like, Troy, I don't even know why you sent me this.
That's the Troy Pio effect. Troy be like, just FYI, so you know. That's Troy Pio effect.
FYI, meteorite just passed. I think we can make a movie out of it.
All right, Troy.
So I look at it as that, right? So I say collaboration in family, and then confidence, right? Because it takes a lot to go, hey, I want to make a movie about this brown paper bag that just, the wind just carries it across the street, and I think I can make this a thing. And people are like, I think you can make that brown paper bag a thing. And I gotta sell it, and the brown bag, and it don't talk, but the way the wind hit it, you feel every piece of it. You know what I'm saying? And really, with that brown paper bag is the plight of the black man. And everybody goes, yes! So independent film you got from me.
Such a storyteller.
That's not a storyteller, right there, just a storyteller.
Stan, you got a career in stand-up too.
Right, I just said that's just okay. I just want to say this, and I want to end on this too. To that point is, know the business before you know the show. So every independent filmmaker, I don't care if you a content curator. I made my first film at 19 for the Gospel Music Channel. Ain't even around no more. And we scrapped money together and bad contracts. Didn't learn from that. Then made a movie in 2020, Cage Birds. We did that for like $250,000. And I produced that. And streaming after the pandemic took advantage of us. So every independent filmmaker out there, why I started Lab 88 is because I kept saying, do we have like safe spaces to come as a community? Do we have spaces to grow, learn, heal, and to say, I see myself represented? And the reason I started directing and producing and getting behind the camera was because I see enough people behind it that look like me. So I'm like, how am I auditioning for a movie about slaves and ain't no black people in this room that's the directors and producers? I am lost and confused. So I saw the need to build and cultivate those spaces and know the business before you know the show and have vision. And I give Troy flowers too, from having that initial meeting and seeing the vision for Excel and everything that it has blossomed into. You can't not let somebody tell you that you cannot do it. And you can't back down. So I've seen, I told you I was black as fuck. I've seen white folks that they come to meetings and they say, I don't care, you're gonna give me what I want. So I'd be like, I'm about to be real Stanley right now, you're gonna give me what I want. I want this, I deserve it. And every independent filmmaker out there, you deserve to make a film. You deserve to tell your story. And I want to give all of y'all your flowers because the work that you're doing and being able to meet you all has been so fulfilling. And there's so much great talent here in Chicago, and I feel like we are on the rise because we know that these past few years has been just a wild roller coaster ride, not only in our industry, but just the climate of our city and just developing more. So thank y'all for being y'all. Like, thank you so much, and let people know as we close where they can learn more about your work and what you got going on, and then we about it.
Wait, before we do that, I just want to say one thing, please.
You got it.
Guys, when you're in a room like this, I know it's great to see the people that's on the couch, but please acknowledge everybody that's around you.
Yeah.
You see these people with these cameras, talk to them.
Yeah.
You talk to them because you just don't even know. Look, Lonnie back there looking like a beach bum. You don't even know. That's one of the hottest directors / artists in the city. And you wouldn't know that because you're not gonna go talk to them. You're gonna be like, who's on the stage? Right? And it's like, no, everybody next to you is this one right here support everything.
That's the godmama right here. That's your hub. That's Chicago filmmaker godmama.
You see what I'm saying? So it's space for everybody in this room, no matter what they do. You just gotta make sure you take out time to talk to everybody. And that's all I want to say. Because people don't do that. And I'm just like, talk to everybody in here because you don't know who your next creator collaborator is. You don't know who your next cousin is. You don't know who your next family is. You just don't know, so you gotta. You don't know who your annoying. Am I older than you or younger than you? I don't know. You don't even know who your next annoying big or little brother about to be. You know what I'm saying?
So plug this up real quick, and like I said, Independent Network, I see Gregory back there, dope artist, that's my guy, Sadia being on everything you done with Excel, like so many people that's right next to us that really care about us and our story. So just get to know that. And what you got coming up?
I actually tomorrow am streaming my next project. It's called It's Not You, It's Me. And it's a dating docuseries that meets at the intersection of mental health. And it follows 3 bachelors as they get back into dating, but they're also in therapy to unpack baggage from previous relationships so they don't take it into the new relationships they're starting to build. It premieres November 1st, which also happens to be my birthday.
Scorpios in.
Premieres November 1st on Open Television, and you can find OTV's app on Apple, Droid, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And you can find me on Instagram. I am Antony, ANTNY_Williams, or at Second Glance First.
Okay, well, let's see, I'm in pre-production for a feature film right now, so it's called Detour Destiny More Than Friends. It's the follow-up to Just a Friend. With Just a Friend, you can watch right now as Amazon Prime, YouTube Stash, so it's quite a few outlets, so check it out. It's romantic comedy, but the new one that we're in production for, we're filming in October, and it deals with what happens to those friends following their Harry met Sally type of friendship. So now we move into, are they gonna be emotionally honest with each other? Are they gonna let those feelings develop into what their destiny is? So that's what we're diving into. So I'm excited about that. And I played with the genre a little bit with that one and take it, it's still romantic, still has some comedy, but it's a romantic dramedy. So we got some suspense and, so it's a little more twists and turns because, why not have that roller coaster ride? And you can find me on, I created an Instagram.
That's where you say your little baby Instagram page.
I'm like, okay, I created an Instagram today and it's Galloway.Annette. But anyway, I am on Facebook. I am on Facebook. Okay, I have a page on Facebook, but it's Annette Galloway. So, but typically, I had some people doing social media for me, but I am learning myself now, and I will be more of a presence, and not be so much behind the scene because I'm so comfortable in my own space and head, but I have to get out here, and because I'm always writing and working and creating, so, but I know it's important to connect as well. So, work with me.
And you can find me at a local LA fitness trying to get in shape because I need a wife. You want to go back to that?
Maybe.
No, okay, I just want to get that out there.
Give us the specs.
Instagram, well, all social media is simply Derek, but I spell it the non-black way, D-E-R-E-K. D-E-R-E-K-D-D-O-W, Derek D. Dow, right? Across all social medias. And the next project I'm actually working on is with my writing partner and producer partner, Jelani Julius, which is an anthology that takes place in one apartment. And it's gonna be a fun thing because we're gonna have a rom-com, you're gonna have a horror, you're gonna have some drama, you're gonna have, because each thing is its own capsule. So, all in one, because it's an anthology. Each story is its own thing. Because I ain't got no money and I don't wanna hold actors past 3 days. And just other stuff like that, constantly get back to content creating, and just like honestly guys having fun. Having fun, and I'm just finding like once I became a professor and started seeing all the insecurities I had in my students and talking them out of it, and I'm like, yo, take your own advice, my G. And like you said, you met me in school, and one of my superpowers that God blessed me with, I'm gonna say it, when I say be big, don't be small, I'm the sunshine of my family, and I'm the light in almost every room I walk into. And that's the real, you know what I'm saying? And so I want to keep doing that. So that's what I'm working on. So there you down on all social medias. If you're single and also want to have a baby.
All right, let's wrap it up. He was trying to turn this to a daily hour. This concludes pretty much an amazing conversation. Troy, thank you. Excel Festival is only getting bigger and better. I go by the name of Edwin Walker, Micheaux. You can find me on all social media, the Edwin Walker, I am Micheaux, and also at Lab 88. And this is Lab 88 Live Community Conversations. We'll have more of these. You can learn more about them at Lab 88. Website is being remodeled right now, but thank y'all for coming out. And pretty much, don't let nobody tell you what you can't do. And tell your story. Excel Festival 2025. Thank y'all so much. We out here.